Hello, and welcome once again to the Jesuit Schools Network's 50th anniversary celebration. I'm Julia Andretta. I am the Communications Coordinator for the Jesuit Schools Network, and I'm joined today by Brianna Latko, who has agreed to talk to me a little bit about her experience with JSN, which was formerly the JSCA. So good afternoon, Bri. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon. I'm good. I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to talk with you about my experience with JSN.
I appreciate you joining. I appreciate you agreeing to talk to me about it.
Of course.
So let's just get started with a little bit about yourself for the folks watching who might not know who you are.
Sure. My name is Brianna Latko, and I have the privilege of serving as principal at Saint Ignatius College Prep in Chicago. This is my 8th year in this role, but my 19th on campus. And I have worked also at J-High in Sacramento. I was principal there for 4 years, so I've worked with the Jesuit schools since 1998.
Oh, wow. Great. Awesome. So the next question I've been saying to everyone, it sounds like a quiz question, but I promise it's not.
Okay.
We're just going to jump right in with, without looking at the JSN's mission statement, how would you describe the JSN's mission, and in what ways do you feel it has fulfilled that mission in the last 50 years?
So I feel like if this was a quiz, I might get in trouble for cheating. And that's only because I was on the board for the last 6 years and had a great experience working with colleagues from around the country, and was involved in the strategic planning process where we developed the mission statement. So if I don't know a little bit about it, I'm in trouble. And you're asking me to say what I think it is, and was there a second part to that question?
Yeah, so what would you, I guess, how would you define the JSN's mission? And then in what way would you say that they have fulfilled that mission over the last 50 years?
Sure. So the most recent mission, and I think this has been true for the JSN and the JSCA, it's all about bringing together Jesuit schools to do what Jesuit schools do, and to fulfill really the Jesuits, the society's mission in working with students. And so when we started working on that project, one of the things we kept coming back to and was at the core of the most recent iteration of the mission was that Christ is central to everything that we do. And so how do we connect schools in a way where we can live out Christ's mission ultimately? And so I think that there are many ways that the JSN and the JSCA have done that over the years. Most recently, they're looking at, I know, lived experience of prayer through spiritual exercises. In my work on the board, we talked a lot about board formation period in the schools. I know we've looked a lot at research over time. So we want to continue to be kind of on the cutting edge of what's going on in Catholic education so that we can best serve students so that they can go out and be agents of change in the world. And I think that the JSN does a great job of bringing schools together, school leaders together, school teachers together, and just making those connections for people.
Absolutely. I'm so interested. I'm really glad actually that you brought up more of like the spiritual side of things. There's a lot of focus, and I think valid and necessary focus on the research and the programming, but I really liked your focus on the living Christ's mission, and really the deeper Catholic and Jesuit mission of the JSN. I really appreciate that insight. So speaking of research and documentation, the JSN is, some would say, famous for the development of documents and for the development of texts. The ones that come to mind are the standards and benchmarks, what makes a Jesuit school Jesuit, the grad is one that a lot of people have talked about. So I just want to know, what's a document for you that's come out of either the JSCA or the JSN in the last 50 years that really stands out to you now? And what about that document did you find so impactful?
Yeah, I think the JSN has done a great job with documents, period. And one of the things for me that really stands out is the grad document. Being in the schools and being in a leadership role in our schools, to say that I go back to the grad. I would say sometimes daily, certainly weekly. We always, as we begin to develop programs within our school, as we begin to look at ways we can connect with other Jesuit schools and other members of our community in Chicago, we are constantly going back to those ideals and trying to look for ways to help our students not just understand them on kind of an intellectual level, but to understand that these are values that we need to live in order to go back to that mission of Christ. So I think the grad has withstood the test of time, and it's something that we use all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you're not the only person to have said that. It's made quite an impact. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's definitely one that people come back to. So my next couple of questions kind of follow in the same theme. They're worded very similarly. But another thing that the JSEA and the JSN have always been known for is their programming. The greatest hits are like colloquia, symposia, the seminars. So in a similar question, what is a JSEA or JSN program that you've been a part of over the last 50 years that really stands out to you now? And what about that program did you find impactful?
Sure. First of all, I would say every JSN program I've been a part of, and I've been blessed to be able to be a part of a lot of them, has had some level of an impact on me. I think the connections that we make, understanding that we have a shared mission, those are critical things. If I think about the one that was probably the most impactful, if we're talking about programming, I would have to say going through the seminars myself. I had an opportunity to lead them as well, and that was a very powerful experience to see it from the other side. But while I was going through the seminars, they were a 3-year program, and each year for me, I was in a different role in the school. And so it was really interesting to be learning not only, and I was in grad school, so I was at Loyola University learning about what it means to be kind of an administrator in more of an academic sense, and there was also a little bit of a spiritual element there with it being Loyola University. But going through the seminars and realizing that your leadership has to tie in your values, and we do that in kind of, that's something that was, I guess I would say they wove that through the entire program. And so to go from being kind of a classroom teacher one year, and then the next year I was director of student activities, and then the next year I'd become an assistant principal. And so each year I was taking on these more challenging leadership roles, and I found there to be great practical advice in those. I found that I had good connections, so I could call people from other schools for advice. And I found that they were absolutely grounded in who we need to be as Catholic leaders, not just as leaders. And so I think that program has morphed a lot over the years, and I'm a huge supporter of it as a principal. I send a ton of teachers to the seminars, and I'm always saying, if you have an extra spot or somebody drops out, let me know. I want to send somebody, because I just think that it's a pretty incredible program. And I know that it's gone through, like I said, some revisions, but I still have just great respect for that program.
Absolutely. No, I love the seminars. I used to help out with them, and even just as an outside observer, nobody approaches leadership like the Jesuits.
It's really something. I mean, it's a powerful experience, and there is, we talk about the network piece of the Jesuit Schools Network a lot, but to truly understand that there are all of these connections, and that our schools, while they may look a little different or they may feel a little different, have at their very core the same values, is, I think, an incredible thing.
Absolutely. I think, oh man, because I just was reminded, I forget which gathering it was now, but it was at SLU High, so I forget who was meeting, but someone went through all of the mission statements of all of the schools, and that was amazing, because it was like, they all hit all the same major points. It was that's amazing to me, like where it was like, and having visited now so many of the schools, they're all so different. They all have different cultures, but like at their, like you said, at the foundations.
That's exactly right. And I think we're in different, some are in urban settings, some are in, smaller towns, or whatever the case may be. But I think the reality of it is we're tied together in more ways than we're not.
Yeah.
And I think as we look at the different populations that we serve, and as we try to make sure that everyone understands that we're companions on this journey, there's no question about the fact that mission statements are going to be in line with each other in a lot of ways. That doesn't surprise. I have not read them all, like that experience that you had. I think that would be fascinating.
No, that was the next question is about a person. Similar question, but a person, a JSEA or JSN staff member, past or present, who had a positive impact on you, and in particular on the way that you approach Jesuit education.
Yeah, you know, that question, there are too many people to count. And I'm not saying that just to make them all feel better.
Sure.
There just literally are. It's like you're asking me to pick my favorite all-star baseball player or something, you know? And so I think, you know, for me, when I think of recent years and I think of the JSN staff, I have to say Bill Muller. You know, Bill asked me to step into a leadership position in the board work at a time that I would never have necessarily volunteered to do that. I would not have thought that that was a role that I was going to be comfortable to take on at that point. And I think Bill having confidence in me, and also just being who Bill is, I realized that this is going to be a team effort, and he's going to be with me every step of the way. And so he and I worked very closely together with our board work for the, you know, I would say 4 or 5 years, but you know, the kind of the latter part of my service on the board. And he's someone incredibly special who gets it, and who has at his very core a deep faith that is that he articulates well and that he invites people into. And I think that in so doing, he has proven to be an incredible leader within the network. And I've had awesome experiences with other leaders when we were still JSEA, with just people that I've met. Like I said, there are too many people to count. I've got a good buddy who I was on the board with who uses the phrase legends of Ignatian education or something, or legends in Ignatian education. And I really feel like when I'm around so many people that I've met through the JSN, that every one of them is someone that I have found I look up to in some way, shape, or form. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. There are qualities in each of those individuals that I just think that is to be emulated. And so it's been a privilege to have these experiences where I've been able to meet people from all over, you know, and I think that that's been one of the joys and one of the most fun things to do.
Absolutely. I especially resonated with what you said about Bill Muller, and he is like one of the most articulate people. He's so eloquent.
I just want to listen to him. You know, yeah, he is, he's something. And so, and he's fun. You know, sometimes who can articulate their faith and they're very bright, and you may not be able to just kind of relax and laugh at that person. And he's got that too. So Bill has, we're going to miss him, but I also know that we're in great hands moving forward. So
yeah, absolutely. And so this next question kind of ties into that a little bit, but rather than being about a person, it's about a moment. So if is there a fond memory, and I would say a specific, like I've used the term like a moment frozen in time. Like, is there a specific memory that you associate with the JSEA or the JSN?
I think there's a theme developing in a lot of my answers here, but there's, you know, also a lot of moments. For me, I think about last summer's colloquium here in Chicago, and at the end of every night, there were people who would gather very casually together, and it was not always the same group. There were some, I think, core members of that were kind of there each time, and then different people or groups from different schools would come in. And to say that we laughed and just enjoyed each other in just sort of those casual ways
Mm-hmm.
was really, it sticks out in my mind, those moments where we're doing a lot of things that are important and structured. And then for me, when we get away from that structure and we just get to be together, I think we just really enjoy each other from the different
Yeah.
schools around the network. And so that to me, it's those moments that I think of like, okay, this is a kind of a, you know, Hall of Fame night where we just laughed and laughed and laughed and didn't want to leave each other's company. Those things I think are great.
Yeah, it's very much like a camaraderie that develops.
There is. It's
Yeah.
hard to explain to people. Like you know, I have friends obviously who I've had outside of school
Mm-hmm.
for, you know, some lifelong friends and other friends. And when I go on some of the JSN trips or something, I'll try to explain what that's all about. And they just kind of think, oh, it sounds really interesting, but it's hard to explain how I now have this great friend who lives in another part of the country. Or, you know, I've got Len up in Canada, who, if I needed some great advice from somebody, I'd call him up and say, you know, help me out here. And I think those things are really incredible.
Absolutely. Those interpersonal like moments and connections are definitely that's definitely a huge value added.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
All right. Well, as we're gonna wrap up, I think. But as we wrap up, just are there any final thoughts you'd like to leave us with? Is there anything you want to make sure that you say, or like, you know, just anything that you want to leave us with or mention as we kind of wrap up?
I think more than anything, gratitude. I feel so, like I said, I'm in awe of so many people that I have met because of the Jesuit Schools Network and Jesuit, you know, JSCA, Jesuit Secondary Education Association. And I think, you know, this 50-year organization that has kind of withstood the test of more recent modern time has brought together amazing people. And I am just so incredibly grateful for those people who I have had an opportunity to get to know, build relationships with, and who have helped me to grow as not just an educator, but also as a person.
All right. Thank you. Well, Bree, thank you so much for your
Of
time.
course.
Thank you
Of
so much
course.
for
Julie, thanks
speaking
for
with
asking.
me.
It's a privilege to be a part of something that's going to celebrate the JSN.